In 2015, the IPCC and the Paris Agreement set a global goal to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius and ideally to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, but failed big time. Emissions have not slowed down, only accelerated some more. Green and renewable energies did not make a dent to the emissions. Hundreds of climate talk were all grandstanding. Now, having crossed the 1.5 degrees Celsius of global warming in 2024, 2 degrees Celsius of warming is already visible over the horizon. Once we cross the 2 degrees Celsius, the planet enters the dreaded danger zone, a world where it used to be predictable climate to a new normal of extreme weather events. And among all climate threats, one stands above the rest: extreme heat, the silent killer. At 2 degrees Celsius of global warming, heat waves become the most immediate and deadly threat, far more lethal than floods, fires, or sea level rise. Heat waves are mass killers in recent years, nearly 500,000 deaths per year in recent history. And at 2 degrees Celsius of warming, these mass casualties can only escalate. Unlike storms or floods, heat waves are silent. You don't see them coming, and they can strike multiple regions at once. They don't destroy buildings, but they destroy bodies. How heat kills. Our bodies and all living things can only survive within a narrow temperature range. Below that range, we freeze. Above it, we overheat and die. At 2 degrees Celsius of global warming, major cities will face weeks of deadly heat each year. In parts of the Middle East, South Asia, and even the Philippines, temperatures could reach levels that make outdoor life impossible. Wet bulb temperature, the human heat limit. To understand how dangerous this is, we must know about wet bulb temperature. It combines air temperature and humidity and tells us how well our bodies can cool through sweating. When humidity is high, sweat can't evaporate. The body stops cooling itself. At a wet bulb temperature of 31 degrees Celsius, even healthy young adults can overheat and die within hours, even in the shade, even with water. Here's the danger. At just 28 degrees Celsius, with 90% humidity, the wet bulb temperature reaches that deadly 31 degrees Celsius. At 40 degrees Celsius, only 20% humidity is enough. At 50 degrees Celsius, it becomes deadly under any condition without air conditioning. The Philippines is especially at risk. Our coastal cities often experience high humidity, meaning dangerous wet bulb conditions could arrive sooner and last longer than expected. Mass casualty events, a real possibility. At 2 degrees Celsius of global warming, mass casualty events from extreme heat becomes a very real risk. A mass casualty event, or MCE, happens when victims outnumber available medical and emergency resources. In extreme heat, even caregivers and rescuers can become victims themselves. How does deadly wet bulb temperatures unfold? Power grid failure means no cooling or no air conditioning available, resulting to an increase in heat-related deaths. Children, the old, and those with heart and lung conditions are most vulnerable. Hospitals become overwhelmed and cooling shelters run out of capacity. At 2 degrees Celsius of warming and wet bulb temperatures, cascading events like transport shutdowns, food and water shortages, even civil unrest makes mass casualty events very likely. On top of that, the possibility of cascading disasters or major disasters happening in close succession, like a superstorm crippling major part of the country, causing transport and power grid failure, followed by a heat wave breaking wet bulb temperatures, potentially crippling a nation. And recovery could be a real challenge because of escalating climate threats. 2 degrees Celsius of warming is the driving force behind these cascading catastrophes and must not be ignored. 2 degrees Celsius or greater global warming is the biggest national threat facing all countries in the world. What governments must do now? We can't stop every heat wave, but we can save lives by preparing early. Immediate and urgent actions include: number one, early warning systems for heat waves and public education about wet bulb danger levels. Two, cooling centers in every city for vulnerable populations. Three, evacuation from slum areas to safer, elevated zones protecting them from both fires and floods. Four, resilient microgrids to keep power running for hospitals, cooling centers, and rescue operations. Five, planting and storing survival foods like cassava to secure local food supplies. Six, rainwater harvesting and sealed storage to ensure portable water during heat and droughts. Seven, forming a national rapid response task force, scientists, engineers, local governments, military NGOs, and communities working together to adapt and respond fast. A final warning. I urge you, do not be like the people in the days of Noah. They continued with their daily lives, working, farming, building. They didn't listen to Noah, since they have their own scientists and false prophets, until the day the flood came and swept them all away. But unlike them, we all have all the data, the science, and the warning signs are all around us. We are entering a runaway global warming. The time to act is now. I pray to God that you take heed.